The Vorkans had ruled the stars for 300 years. Their tough, scaly bodies and natural armor made them the strongest warriors in the known galaxy. They came from the planet Vorka, a harsh world of burning deserts and toxic plants. The other species in the Galactic Alliance called it a death world, a planet so dangerous that most life forms would die there within hours. Zexthal stood tall on the viewing deck of the Alliance Central Station. His yellow eyes narrowed as he watched the stars. As the chief ambassador of the Vorkan Empire, he took pride in his species' reputation. The Vorkans were the only known Deathworlders in the galaxy, and this fact gave them power and respect. "Ambassador, we have urgent news," said a small blue-skinned aide who rushed into the room. The Melnian looked nervous, his thin arms shaking slightly. "Speak," Zexthal said. His voice was low and rough, like stones grinding together. "The Alliance deep space sensors have detected a ship. It's using technology we've never seen before, and it's coming from an unexplored sector." Zexthal's tail twitched with interest. First contact with a new species. This hasn't happened in 50 years. The Melnian nodded. "The Council is gathering now. They request your presence." In the Grand Council chamber, representatives from 24 species sat in rising circles. At the center stood Council Leader Pax, her transparent skin glowing with blue light. "The ship calls itself U.S. Discovery," Pax announced. "It comes from a planet called Earth. They have sent communication signals in multiple formats. Their technology is primitive but functional." "Have they agreed to standard boarding procedures?" asked a furry delegate from the back. "Yes," said Pax. "They will allow our inspection team aboard. We are preparing to make first contact now." Zexthal watched as the view screen showed the approaching ship. It was small and oddly shaped, with none of the elegant curves of Alliance vessels. It looked like it had been built for function, not beauty. Hours later, the inspection team returned to the station. The chief medical officer, Dr. Vreen, rushed into the council room. Her 4 arms carried stacks of data tablets. "These readings can't be right," she said, her voice high with excitement. "According to our scans, these humans come from a Class 12 death world." The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Zexthal stood up sharply. "Impossible. Vorka is a Class 10, the highest recorded. Your equipment must be malfunctioning." Dr. Vreen shook her head. "We checked 3 times. Their planet has higher gravity than standard, extreme temperature variations from freezing to burning, thousands of predator species, regular natural disasters, and an oxygen-rich atmosphere that would be toxic to many of us." "And the humans themselves?" asked Council Leader Pax. "Even more surprising," Dr. Vreen continued. "They have dense muscle structure, remarkable endurance, incredible healing abilities, and they can eat foods that would poison most species. Their biology is unlike anything we've encountered." Zexthal's scales darkened with anger. "I demand to meet these humans myself." The doors to the council chamber opened. A small group of aliens walked in. They looked soft and weak to Zexthal. No scales, no armor, just smooth skin and strange coverings. How could these creatures survive a death world? A male human stepped forward. He had short brown hair and a friendly smile. "I'm Captain Roy Nichols of the U.S. Discovery, representing Earth. We're honored to make contact with your Galactic Alliance." The human showed no fear as he looked around the room. He didn't even seem impressed by the diverse alien species watching him. Zexthal moved closer, towering over the human. "Your planet cannot possibly be a Class 12 death world. My people are the galaxy's only true Deathworlders." Captain Nichols looked confused. "I'm not familiar with your classification system, but Earth can certainly be dangerous. We've adapted to its challenges over thousands of years." "We will verify these claims," Zexthal said coldly. "The Vorkans will not surrender our position in the Alliance based on false information." The human just smiled again. "We're not here to take anyone's position. We're explorers, hoping to make friends among the stars." But Zexthal knew the truth. If these humans really came from a higher class death world, everything would change, and the Vorkans would not give up their status without a fight. The next day, humans from the U.S. Discovery were invited to the classification meeting. Captain Roy Nichols brought Dr. Lisa Bennett, the ship's lead scientist. They sat at a large round table with Alliance officials and Vorkan representatives. Dr. Vreen displayed a chart on the wall screen. We use this scale to rate planetary danger levels. Class 1 is a paradise world. Class 12 is the theoretical maximum, a planet so dangerous that intelligent life should not be able to evolve there. Lisa leaned forward with interest. And where does Earth fall on this scale? Based on our initial scans, Dr. Vreen said, Earth is a Class 12 death world. Roy and Lisa exchanged surprised looks. They had never thought of their home as particularly dangerous. What makes Earth so deadly in your view? Lisa asked. Dr. Vreen touched her tablet, and images of Earth appeared. First, your gravity is 1.2 times our standard. Your atmosphere contains oxygen levels that would be toxic to many species. You have extreme temperature variations from pole to equator. Your planet has active volcanoes, earthquakes, hurricanes, floods, and other natural disasters. And the biodiversity includes thousands of predator species and poisonous plants. Roy smiled. That's just home to us. Zexthal slammed his scaled fist on the table. This is absurd. Look at these humans. They have no natural armor, no claws, weak muscles. Vorkans are clearly superior physical specimens. The Alliance science officer, a tall insect-like being, clicked his mandibles. Physical appearance can be deceiving. Our readings show humans have remarkable endurance, efficient cooling systems through their skin, and immune systems that can fight off incredible numbers of pathogens. Not to mention, added Dr. Vreen, humans can heal from injuries that would kill most species, and they can eat a wider variety of foods than any known race. Zexthal stood up, his tail swishing angrily. I demand verification. Send a team to this Earth to confirm these claims. Council Leader Pax nodded. That is the standard procedure for new planet classifications. Captain Nichols, would you allow an Alliance team to visit Earth? Of course, Roy said. We would be honored to host representatives from the Alliance. Earth would welcome peaceful visitors. Zexthal's yellow eyes narrowed. I will lead the Vorkan delegation myself. After the meeting, Roy and Lisa walked back to their ship. Did you see how upset the Vorkans got? Lisa said, I don't understand why our planet's classification matters so much to them. Roy sighed. I think it's a status thing. From what I gather, the Vorkans have built their entire identity around being the toughest species from the harshest world. Now we show up and accidentally challenge that. But we're not trying to compete with them, Lisa said. I know, but they see it differently. Being the only Deathworlders gave them special standing in the Alliance. They're not ready to share that position. Back on the Alliance station, Zexthal met with his advisors. The room was heated to Vorkan preference, making the air hot and dry. We cannot allow these humans to claim Deathworlder status, Zexthal said. For 3 centuries, the Vorkans have been the warriors of the Alliance. Our military contracts, our security responsibilities, our political influence, all depend on our unique status. His chief science advisor looked worried. But what if their planet truly is a Class 12? The readings were clear. Readings can be wrong, Zexthal said, or manipulated. When we visit this Earth, I will prove that humans are soft creatures who could never survive on Vorka. And I will demonstrate that Vorkans are superior by surviving Earth without protection. That could be dangerous, Ambassador, warned an older Vorkan, if their atmosphere is as oxygen-rich as reported. I will not fail, Zexthal cut him off. The honor of our species is at stake. Meanwhile, in another part of the station, Council Leader Pax met privately with Roy. Captain, I must warn you, she said, her transparent skin pulsing with concerned blue light. The Vorkans take their status very seriously. Zexthal will try to prove humans are inferior when he visits Earth. We don't want any conflict, Roy said. We came to make friends, not enemies. Pax nodded. I believe your intentions are good. But please understand, until now, the Vorkans were special. Your arrival changes everything. 2 weeks later, a small Alliance ship approached Earth. Captain John Martinez had been chosen to pilot the vessel and guide the alien delegation. He watched as the blue planet grew larger in the view screen. First view of Earth coming up. John announced to the aliens gathered behind him. We'll be landing in Seattle in about 30 minutes. The Alliance delegation consisted of 6 members from different species. Dr. Vreen had come to verify scientific readings. A blue Melnian diplomat represented the council. A bird like a very historian recorded everything for Alliance archives. 2 other scientists from minor species managed equipment. And finally, there was Krillvex, the Vorkan observer who had insisted on joining the mission. Krillvex stood taller than any human, with dark green scales and yellow eyes. He wore a simple chest plate showing his military rank. As the nephew of Ambassador Zexthal, he had a lot to prove. These environmental suits are unnecessary, Krillvex complained as the alien visitors put on their protective gear. The suits would shield them from Earth's gravity, atmospheric pressure, and oxygen levels. Dr. Vreen adjusted her helmet. Our scans confirm Earth conditions would be harmful to all of us except humans. The suits are mandatory for safety. Krillvex growled but put on his suit. Vorkans have survived worse conditions. The ship landed smoothly at a special area prepared for the alien visitors. Outside, a small crowd of officials waited to greet them. Dr. Olivia Ward led the Earth Welcome Committee. As the aliens walked down the ramp, they moved awkwardly in their suits, struggling slightly with Earth's gravity. But Krillvex strode confidently, hiding any discomfort he felt. "Welcome to Earth," Olivia said with a warm smile. "I'm Dr. Ward, and I'll be your guide during your stay. We've prepared a tour that will show you different environments on our planet." The bird-like Avari spoke through his translator. "What is this wet substance falling from the sky? Is it dangerous?" Olivia looked up at the light rain. "That's just rain, water droplets. It's perfectly normal here in Seattle. It helps plants grow. Water freely falling from the atmosphere," the Melnian diplomat whispered in awe. "On our world, water is rare and precious." Krillvex seemed unimpressed. "Vorka has acid storms that melt flesh. This seems pleasant by comparison." The group was taken to their specially prepared accommodations. The rooms had been adjusted to match the atmospheric conditions of each visitor's homeworld. For the first time since arriving, the aliens could remove their suits in the safety of their quarters. Later that evening, the delegation met to discuss the next day's plans. John spread out a map of the Pacific Northwest. "Dr. Ward suggests we start with a mild hiking trip in the mountains," he explained. "It's springtime, so the weather should be good." "Hiking?" asked Dr. Vreen. "What is this activity?" "Walking through natural areas for pleasure," John explained. "Seeing plants, animals, landscapes, that sort of thing." The Avari historian fluttered his feathered hands. "On my world, we avoid wild areas. Too many dangers. Earth's wilderness is relatively safe if you're prepared," Olivia assured them. "We'll stay on marked trails and carry emergency equipment." Krillvex studied the map carefully. "These mountains look small. Vorka has peaks 3 times this height." John and Olivia exchanged a look. The Vorkan was clearly trying to downplay everything about Earth. That night, Krillvex contacted his uncle through a secure communication channel. Zextal's scaled face appeared on the screen. "How are conditions on Earth?" the ambassador asked. "Not as extreme as reported," Krillvex replied. "The environmental suits seem excessive. I believe I could function without one." Zextal leaned closer to the screen. "Are you certain? Remember our goal. Prove that Vorkans are superior to humans on their own world." "I understand my mission," Krillvex said firmly. "Tomorrow we trek into their mountains. I will use this opportunity to demonstrate our superiority." "Be careful, nephew," Zextal warned. Do not take unnecessary risks. But if you can prove that a Vorkan can endure Earth conditions naturally while these soft humans need no special equipment on their own world, it would prove the classification error, Krillvex finished, and maintain our status as the galaxy's premier Deathworlders. Exactly. Do not fail me. When the communication ended, Krillvex looked out his window at the Earth night. Rain still fell softly on the city. It seemed peaceful, not threatening. He was certain the humans had exaggerated the dangers of their world. Tomorrow, he would prove it. The next morning dawned clear and cool. The hiking group gathered early, with the alien visitors already in their environmental suits. Dr. Olivia Ward checked everyone's equipment while Captain John Martinez loaded the last supplies into their vehicle. Today we'll explore Olympic National Park, Olivia explained. It's a temperate rainforest with moderate trails. Nothing too challenging for your first Earth hike. The aliens stared out the windows as they drove away from Seattle. The Melnian diplomat pressed his blue face against the glass, watching the tall trees and green landscape with wonder. So much plant life, he whispered, and so much water everywhere. Krillvex sat silently in the back, studying the humans. They wore simple clothes, pants, shirts, and light jackets. No protection against the elements except for hiking boots and small backpacks. It seemed impossible that such soft creatures evolved on a Class 12 death world. When they reached the trailhead, Frank Collins, the group's medic, handed out water bottles and trail maps. Remember to stay hydrated, Frank told everyone. The trail climbs about 1,000 feet in elevation, which might affect your breathing even with the suits. The Avery historian chirped nervously. Is this activity dangerous? Olivia smiled reassuringly. Not at all. This is what humans do for fun on weekends. As they started hiking, the aliens moved cautiously. The environmental suits helped with Earth's gravity, but walking on uneven ground proved challenging. The Melnian stumbled several times on tree roots. Dr. Vreen needed frequent breaks, her forearms clutching at trees for support. Krillvex observed how easily the humans navigated the trail. They barely seemed to notice the incline that made the aliens breathe heavily. Even worse, the humans chatted and laughed as they walked, not showing any signs of exertion. 2 hours into the hike, they'd reached a scenic viewpoint overlooking a valley. The aliens marveled at the view while catching their breath. Are all Earth locomotion activities this strenuous? Dr. Vreen asked, her voice tired through the translator. John laughed. This is just a beginner trail. Some humans run up mountains for sport. Krillvex had heard enough. He stepped forward. I wish to test something, he announced. Before anyone could stop him, he pressed the release on his helmet and lifted it off. Stop, Olivia shouted. Your suit is calibrated for your safety. But Krillvex had already removed his helmet completely. He took a deep breath of Earth's air and smiled triumphantly. As I suspected, he said, your world is not as lethal as claimed. A Vorkan can. His words cut off suddenly. His yellow eyes widened in shock. He gasped, trying to breathe, but each breath seemed to make things worse. Within seconds, his green scales began turning a sickly gray color. He's having an oxygen toxicity reaction. Frank yelled, rushing forward with his medical kit. Help me get his helmet back on. John and Olivia jumped into action, supporting the Vorkan as he collapsed. Frank worked quickly, pulling out emergency medications and reattaching the helmet. The other aliens backed away in horror. What's happening to him? The Melnian asked. Dr. Vreen checked the medical readouts on Krillvex's suit. Earth's atmosphere has much more oxygen than Vorka. His body can't process it. The oxygen is becoming toxic in his bloodstream. Frank injected a medication through a special port in the suit. This should help counteract the effects. We need to get him back to base immediately. As they carefully carried Krillvex back down the trail, the Avery historian fluttered nervously beside them. I don't understand. If Earth's air is toxic to a Vorkan, how do humans breathe it every day? Human biology evolved with this atmosphere, Olivia explained. Our bodies are adapted to process higher oxygen levels. And you don't even need protection, the Melnian said with new respect in his voice. You're just walking around in conditions that nearly killed a Vorkan warrior. John nodded grimly as he helped carry Krulvex. That's why they call Earth a death world. It's not just the predators or natural disasters. Sometimes it's the very air itself. By the time they reached the vehicles, Krulvex was conscious again but weak. As Frank continued to monitor him, the Vorkan's eyes burned with humiliation. His attempt to prove Vorkan superiority had backfired dramatically, and now he had to report this failure to his uncle. The aliens rode back to base in silence, looking at the humans with new understanding. These seemingly soft creatures breathed deadly air, walked under crushing gravity, and called it normal. Perhaps Earth truly was the deadliest world in the known galaxy. News of Krulvex's medical emergency spread quickly. Within hours, Ambassador Zexthal had received a full report. He paced angrily in his private chamber on the Alliance station, his tail lashing back and forth. This is unacceptable, he growled to his advisors. My nephew nearly died from simply breathing their air. An older Vorkan spoke carefully. Perhaps we should reconsider our position. If Earth truly is more dangerous than Vorka. Never. Zexthal slammed his fist against the wall. We cannot lose our status as the galaxy's premier warriors. Contact our fleet. I want 3 warships moved to the edge of Earth's solar system. His advisors exchanged worried glances. Ambassador, that could be seen as an act of aggression. It's merely a precaution, Zexthal said. And inform the humans that I want a direct meeting with their leaders. Back on Earth, the Alliance visitors gathered in their base. Krulvex had recovered but remained quiet and angry. Dr. Vreen reviewed her findings with the group. The data is conclusive, she said. Earth is indeed a Class 12 death world. The oxygen levels alone would kill most species without protection, and we haven't even experienced their extreme weather events or encountered their predators. The Melnian diplomat looked worried. I've received troubling news. Vorkan military vessels are moving toward this solar system. John and Olivia shared concerned looks. Are they planning an attack? John asked. Unlikely, the diplomat replied. But it's clearly a show of force. Ambassador Zexthal is requesting a formal meeting. Olivia sighed. This was supposed to be a scientific and cultural exchange, not a military confrontation. For 300 years, the Vorkans have built their identity around being the toughest species, Dr. Vreen explained. Now that's being challenged. Krulvex finally spoke. You don't understand our position. The Vorkan Empire provides security for 12 Alliance worlds. Our military contracts depend on our reputation. If we are no longer seen as the strongest warriors. But we're not trying to compete with you, John said. Humans just want peaceful relations. The Avari historian chirped thoughtfully. Perhaps a competition would help. Everyone turned to look at him. What do you mean? Asked Olivia. Throughout galactic history, species have resolved status disputes through ceremonial competitions. Rather than military conflict, why not arrange a series of challenges between humans and Vorkans? Tests of strength, endurance, and skill. The Melnian diplomat nodded enthusiastically. Yes, a Galactic Olympics of sorts. It would allow both species to demonstrate their abilities without bloodshed. John looked skeptical. I'm not sure turning this into a sports competition is the answer. It's better than the alternative, Krulvex said darkly. My uncle is not known for his patience. Later that day, Earth's government officials gathered to discuss the situation. Roy Nichols and Lisa Bennett had returned from the Alliance station to join the talks. The Vorkan ships are still keeping their distance, Roy reported, but they're definitely making a statement. What do we do? Asked the Secretary of Defense. Our technology is still far behind the Alliance. We can't match their weapons. Lisa spoke up. I've been studying Vorkan biology. Despite their natural armor and strength, they have weaknesses. Their endurance is limited compared to humans. They can't regulate body temperature as efficiently as we can. Are you suggesting we could win this competition? John asked. I'm saying we have advantages they don't know about, Lisa replied. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. We can sweat to cool ourselves. We can keep going long after other animals would collapse from exhaustion. Olivia nodded. That could be our edge. The Vorkans are stronger, but humans might win endurance events. The Earth president considered this information. So we accept their challenge. Make this a formal competition. It seems like our best option, Roy said. Alliance representatives believe it could prevent a real conflict. And if we lose? The secretary asked. We acknowledge the Vorkans as the superior Deathworlders, Roy said. But we don't actually lose anything concrete. We still keep our place in the alliance. And if we win? Lisa smiled. Then perhaps the Vorkans learn a little humility. The president nodded. Very well. Inform Ambassador Zexthal that Earth accepts the challenge, but make it clear we see this as a friendly competition between fellow Deathworlders, not enemies. As the meeting ended, Frank Collins approached John and Olivia. I've been thinking about something. When I treated Krillvex, I noticed his muscle tissue was incredibly dense but inflexible. If this becomes an athletic competition, that might be important. Keep gathering that kind of information, John said. If we're going to compete against the Vorkans, we need every advantage we can get. 2 weeks later, the Galactic Olympics began. The Alliance had created a special arena on a neutral moon orbiting an uninhabited planet. The facility could adjust gravity, temperature, and atmosphere to test different skills. Crowds of aliens from across the galaxy arrived to watch the historic contest between the two Deathworld species. Large screens displayed information about both competitors. Ambassador Zexthal led a team of 6 Vorkan warriors. They looked impressive with their muscular bodies and natural armor. The human team consisted of 6 athletes chosen for different strengths. Sam Patterson, a marathon runner, stood next to Kelly Diaz, a mountain climber. The other 4 humans were experts in various physical skills. Captain Roy Nichols and Dr. Lisa Bennett sat with the Earth delegation. Our team looks so small next to the Vorkans, Roy said quietly. Lisa nodded. But remember what we learned. It's not always about size and strength. The first event was a strength test. Competitors had to lift increasingly heavy weights in Vorkan gravity, which was 1.3 times Earth normal. The Vorkan champion, Dreskor, lifted an amazing 900 pounds. The human champion, Carl Hughes, managed 650 pounds before failing. First point to the Vorkans, announced the Alliance judge. Zexthal smiled with satisfaction. As expected, no species can match Vorkan power. The second event tested reaction speed. Competitors had to hit targets that appeared randomly around them. Here, Kelly Diaz surprised everyone by beating the Vorkan competitor by a small margin. The score is now tied, the judge declared. The third event was an underwater challenge. Competitors had to retrieve objects from the bottom of a deep pool. The Vorkan struggled with the unfamiliar environment, while the human swimmer moved smoothly through the water. Another point for Earth, the judge announced. Zexthal growled in frustration. Vorkans evolved in deserts. This test is unfair. Life isn't fair, Ambassador, Roy replied calmly. Deathworlds rarely are. The competition continued with the Vorkans winning tests of jumping ability and impact resistance. Their natural armor protected them in ways human skin could not, but humans won tests involving fine motor control and balance. After 5 events, the score was tied again. The final challenge would decide the winner. The endurance race will be held in Earth-like conditions, the judge announced. Competitors must complete a course through varying terrain while carrying a standard pack. The first team with all members across the finish line wins. The Vorkans protested immediately. Earth conditions give them an unfair advantage, Zexthal argued. Just as Vorkan conditions would benefit your team, the Melhian diplomat pointed out. The purpose is to test Deathworld adaptations. The race began with both teams starting strong. The Vorkans took an early lead, their powerful legs carrying them quickly through the first section. But as hours passed, the humans kept a steady pace while the Vorkans began to slow. "What's happening?" an alien spectator asked. Dr. Vreen explained to the crowd. "Humans have unique cooling systems. They release heat through their skin by producing water. They call it sweat. Vorkans conserve water and store heat, which works well in short bursts but causes problems during extended exertion." By the halfway point, Sam Patterson had taken the lead. His marathon experience showed as he maintained a consistent pace. The first Vorkan, Krillvex, stayed close behind, refusing to give up despite his obvious discomfort. As the race entered its final hour, the difference between the species became clear. The humans continued at nearly the same pace they had started with. The Vorkans moved more slowly, their bodies struggling with heat buildup and muscle fatigue. Sam crossed the finish line first, followed by Krillvex 3 minutes later. But the race wasn't over until all team members finished. Kelly Diaz came in third, followed by another Vorkan. As more competitors finished, it became a question of which team would get all 6 members across first. The final human, Carl Hughes, was tiring but moving steadily. The final Vorkan, an older warrior named Thex Khan, was struggling visibly. His scales had darkened with heat stress, and his movements were stiff. "Come on, Carl," the human team shouted. "Fight, Thex Khan, for Vorkan honor," yelled Zexthal. Carl crossed the line, completing the human team's finish. 1 minute later, Thex Khan collapsed just steps from the finish. Krillvex and another Vorkan rushed to help their teammate across the line. The judge raised his 4 arms. The endurance challenge goes to Earth. With a final score of 4-3, Earth wins the first Galactic Olympics. The human team celebrated quietly, respecting the Vorkan's disappointment. Zexthal stood stiffly, his face unreadable. "A worthy contest," he finally said. "Perhaps there is room for 2 Deathworld species in the galaxy after all." As the Olympic Games ended, both human and Vorkan teams gathered for a formal ceremony. Council leader Pax presented medals to both groups, recognizing their unique abilities. The mood was tense but respectful. During the ceremony, an Alliance messenger rushed in and whispered urgently to Pax. Her transparent skin pulsed with dark colors of alarm. "We must end these proceedings," she announced. "The Alliance Council requests all delegates return to the station immediately." Back at the Alliance Central Station, representatives from all species gathered in the main chamber. The large view screen showed strange energy readings from deep space. Dr. Vreen studied the data with growing concern. "These patterns match ancient records," she said. "Records from the Great Devastation era." An old Avari counselor stepped forward, his feathers drooping with age. "I had hoped never to see this in my lifetime. The harvesters are returning." A wave of fearful murmurs swept through the crowd. Many younger aliens looked confused, but the older ones showed genuine terror. "Who are the harvesters?" Roy asked Lissa quietly. Before she could answer, Council Leader Pax raised her arms for silence. "For those unfamiliar with our ancient history," she began, "the harvesters are not a natural species. They are biomechanical entities created millions of years ago by a race now extinct. They sweep through the galaxy every few thousand years, collecting biological material from inhabited worlds." "Collecting?" asked John Martinez. "You mean they take samples?" The old Avari shook his head sadly. "They harvest entire populations. They convert organic matter into energy to sustain themselves. Whole planets have been stripped of life." Zexthal stepped forward. "The last harvester cycle was before Vorkans joined the Alliance. Our ancient texts speak of sky demons that might be the same beings." "How did anyone survive the previous cycles?" Roy asked. Pax's skin rippled with blue light. "Each time, some species find ways to hide or resist. But many civilizations fall. Our records show the harvesters particularly target worlds with abundant life. Like Earth, Lisa said quietly. Dr. Vreen worked quickly at her console. Based on their speed and direction, we have perhaps 3 months before they reach Alliance space. Silence fell over the chamber as everyone absorbed this information. Then the Melnian diplomat spoke. We must prepare our defenses, but our standard weapons have little effect on harvester ships. Their hulls absorb energy and conventional explosives. An Alliance military officer displayed battle simulations on a side screen. Our projections show that our current forces would be overwhelmed within weeks. Zexthal pounded his fist on the table. Then we fight to the last Vorkan. We do not surrender our worlds to these parasites. Roy exchanged looks with Lisa, then stood up. You mentioned that some species have found ways to resist in the past. What worked? Pax gestured to the Oldavari. Counselor Jur knows the ancient records best. Jur's voice was thin but clear. The historical data suggests that Deathworld species have shown the greatest resistance to harvester attacks. Everyone turned to look at the humans and Vorkans. Why Deathworlders specifically? Asked Kelly Dias. The harvesters use biological weapons that target common vulnerabilities. Jur explained. Species that evolved on harsh worlds developed stronger immune systems and greater resistance to toxins. Dr. Vreen was now rapidly analyzing data. Comparing Vorkan and human physiology to the historical records, both species show promising resistance factors. Vorkan scales provide protection against the harvester's paralytic agents. Human immune systems might resist their biological weapons. But neither species alone has all the necessary defenses, Jur added. The historical records suggest that combined adaptations would be most effective. Zexthal looked at Roy, his yellow eyes thoughtful. So rather than competing for the title of Supreme Deathworlders, we need to work together, Roy finished, combining our strengths. Lisa studied the data on her screen. The Vorkans have physical protection we lack, and we have biological adaptations they don't. Combined strategies might work where neither would succeed alone. The Alliance military officer looked skeptical. You're suggesting we base our defense on just 2 species, against an enemy that has destroyed thousands of worlds. Not just 2 species, Pax said thoughtfully, but 2 Deathworld species at the core of our strategy. Their natural adaptations give us advantages we've never had before. Zexthal turned to Roy and extended his scaled hand. It seems our competition has suddenly become irrelevant, human. Our peoples now face a common enemy far more dangerous than either of our worlds. Roy took the Vorkan's hand without hesitation. From competitors to allies. I think Earth can accept those terms. Around the chamber, the other Alliance species watched with hope as the 2 Deathworld representatives shook hands. For the first time in recorded history, the galaxy would face the harvesters with Deathworlders among their defenders. 2 months passed in a flurry of preparation. The Alliance transformed the Olympic facility into a training ground for the newly formed Deathworlder Corps. Humans and Vorkans worked side by side, teaching each other their survival skills. In the command center, Captain Roy Nichols studied battle plans with Commander Zexthal. The Vorkan had given up his ambassador title to lead his warriors personally. The scout ships will reach this sector within 3 days, Roy said, pointing to a star map. Zexthal nodded. Our first real test. If we can't stop their scouts, the main harvester fleet will know we have new defenses. Dr. Lisa Bennett entered with Dr. Vreen. Both scientists looked tired but excited. We finished the protective serum, Lisa announced. It combines human antibodies with compounds from Vorkan scales. Dr. Vreen held up a container of blue liquid. This should provide non-Deathworlders with temporary resistance to harvester biological weapons. And our weapons? Zexthal asked. Ready, Lisa replied. The projectiles are coated with human enzymes that can break down harvester hull material. The Vorkan acid compounds will do the rest. Roy looked at the assembled team. In just 2 months, former rivals had become essential allies. Human scientists worked with Vorkan warriors. Alliance engineers built ships using designs from both Deathworlds. "It's time to brief the troops," Roy said. In the main hangar bay, hundreds of soldiers gathered. The front rows held human and Vorkan fighters in new combined design armor. Behind them stood volunteers from other Alliance species, smaller in number but equally determined. "Tomorrow we face the first wave of Harvester Scouts," Roy began. "They don't expect resistance. In all previous cycles, they've encountered divided worlds that fell easily." Zexthal stepped forward. "But this time, they face Deathworlders, creatures evolved in the harshest environments, beings who survived worlds that should have killed them. Our differences are now our greatest strength," Roy continued. "Humans bring endurance, adaptability, and creative problem-solving. Vorkans bring strength, protective armor, and battle experience," Zexthal added. "Together, we are more dangerous than either species alone." The next day, 5 Harvester scout ships entered the outer defense perimeter. They were dark, organic-looking vessels with strange pulsing lights. "They're scanning for life forms," reported the sensor officer on the command ship. Roy took a deep breath. Launch fighters. Mixed squadrons of human and Vorkan pilots flew toward the enemy. The new fighters carried weapons designed by both species scientists. The battle began. The Harvesters fired strange energy beams that had devastated worlds in previous cycles. But the Deathworlder ships moved differently, using unpredictable patterns developed by human tactical experts. "First group, attack pattern Vorka 7, Zexthal ordered. Human pilot Kelly Diaz led her squadron in a tight formation. Weapons hot, targeting the lead vessel. The new projectiles struck the Harvester ship. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the hull began to dissolve where they hit. "It's working," Kelly shouted. The Harvester ships tried to release their biological weapons, clouds of nanites that would normally paralyze organic life. But the protected fighters flew right through the clouds. "Second wave, attack now," Roy ordered. Vorkan heavy fighters moved in, launching concentrated acid bombs into the damaged hull sections. 2 Harvester ships began breaking apart. The battle raged for hours. The Alliance lost several fighters, but one by one, the Harvester scouts were destroyed. When the last enemy ship exploded, cheers erupted throughout the fleet. "We did it," Roy said quietly. "First round to the Deathworlders." Zexthal nodded, but this was just the scouting force. "The main fleet will come now, and they will be prepared for us." Later, as the fleet regrouped, Council Leader Pax addressed all ships. "Today marks a historic victory. For the first time, the Harvesters have been stopped before they could establish a foothold. This success belongs to all Alliance species, but especially to our Deathworlder defenders." In the officers' mess, human and Vorkan fighters celebrated together. Sam Patterson arm-wrestled a Vorkan warrior, while others shared stories of their homeworlds. "6 months ago, we didn't know aliens existed," Lisa said to Roy. "Now we're defending the galaxy alongside them." Roy smiled. "And to think the Vorkans once resented us for being Deathworlders too." Across the room, Zexthal raised a cup in their direction. "To fellow Deathworlders," he called out, "may the Harvesters learn to fear both our worlds." As the celebration continued, a message came in from a distant patrol. Another planet had been discovered with signs of intelligent life evolving in harsh conditions. Early readings suggested it might be a Class 11 Deathworld. "Perhaps we're not as rare as we thought," Lisa said. "Maybe the galaxy has more Deathworlders waiting to be found. And more allies for the battles ahead," Roy added, looking toward the stars where the main Harvester fleet would soon appear. The war was just beginning, but for the first time, the Alliance had hope. The Deathworlders had united.